Hey everybody, welcome. Welcome. This is the global community for adult survivors of complex trauma who are healing. They are healing as a result of adverse childhood experiences, and they're now living with CPTSD symptoms. So we'll talk a little bit today about the differences between PTSD and complex PTSD. I think the easiest way for us to differentiate what it is that we're talking about is by acknowledging that PTSD, post-traumatic stress disorder, is commonly understood within the context of combat and veterans, and it's a terrifying thing that happens to us when what happens when we are living with PTSD symptoms or we are experiencing post-traumatic stress disorder, diagnosed or undiagnosed. What's happening is we are experiencing something traumatic that has happened to us in the past, but we're experiencing it present day as though it's happening right now. So it's a reoccurrence in our body, in our mind. We look around and we think that we're still there. We hear things and we think we're hearing the same things as we were hearing during the trauma. And it can be very emotionally dysregulating, very distressing, and it can feel very real. And so I just want anyone to know who's out there who is looking to heal trauma. If post-traumatic healing is something that you're interested in learning about, we talk about that a lot on this channel. We've all been showing up here for over 5 years, almost 6 years now. In fact, I think it'll be 6 years like in a couple days, you guys. Wow. So we've all been showing up here every Monday for almost 6 years now. And we talk about what works in our healing journey and what doesn't work, what's helped us versus what has not helped us. And we also just talk about the reality of not only post-traumatic stress disorder, which I just described for you, but we talk about complex trauma, which is a reoccurrence of something traumatic that happened to us, only it wasn't something that happened one time. It wasn't a single event trauma. It wasn't a natural disaster. It wasn't an earthquake or a house fire. It wasn't a tsunami or a hurricane. These things are extremely traumatizing. Any type of situation that I've just described is extremely traumatizing, and it can be life-altering. Complex trauma, however, is when we are traumatized by another person, and this other person that traumatizes us, it happens not once, not twice, not 3 times, but it happens in an ongoing way. It happens over and over and over and over and over again. Excuse me. And not only does it happen, not only does this trauma from another person, this interpersonal trauma, not only does it happen over and over and over and over again, but it happens over and over and over again over a long period of time. So this could be months, it could be years, it could be decades. So it involves another person. It happens in an ongoing way over and over and over and over again. And it happens over a long period of time. And then the last element that causes it to be differentiated by the word complex trauma is that we are sort of stuck. We're in a one down position, meaning that we're down here and the person that's traumatizing us is up there. And they're sort of like holding us down in a virtual or very real way. We're unable to get away from this person that's traumatizing us. So that's the basis of everything I'm going to talk about today. And I'm going to talk to you about 10 things I've learned about life as it pertains to my healing journey. Not only my healing journey from complex trauma, but 10 things I've learned about life while I have done my best to start a business and run a business while living with mental illness. And I'm also going to talk about part of the 10 things that I'm going to be sharing with you today is there are also things that everyone experiences. For instance, I'm going to talk today about fear. Everyone experiences fear. I'm going to talk to you today about choices. All adults have choices. I'm going to talk to you today about um, holding grudges and negative emotions. Everybody holds grudges and has negative emotions. I'm going to talk to you today about comparison, comparing ourselves to other people. Everybody on planet Earth does this. I'm going to talk to you today about self-care. And everyone on planet Earth has to take care of themselves. Each person is responsible for their own care of their own selves. I'm going to talk to you today about relationships. Everyone on planet Earth has relationships. I'm going to talk to you today about confidence. Everyone on planet Earth has some varying degree of confidence. I'm going to talk to you today about purpose, my life's purpose. Everyone here on planet Earth has a purpose for their life, whether they know it or not. I'm going to talk to you today about multitasking and focus. Every person on planet Earth has the option to multitask or to focus. And then lastly, I am going to talk to you today about the truth that I've found about happiness and fulfillment and achievement. And all these 10 things that I'm going to talk to you about, again, these are things that any person on planet Earth experiences, not only complex trauma survivors. But it's important for you to know that while every person on planet Earth experiences some version of these things, someone who's living with the effects of complex trauma has a unique perspective, and they struggle with certain aspects of these things that we're describing. Okay? So I wanted to let you guys know that my Wi-Fi was not working last week, and it was like, for instance, this morning I was on a call with one of our team members, and it just dropped out of nowhere because we have two Wi-Fis here in our house. Actually, there's three Wi-Fis here where I live in my apartment. And depending on what room you're in, your phone decides what Wi-Fi you're going to use. Okay? But for some reason, the Wi-Fi that I need to use to be out here to either paint or do art or to stream video from outside like we're doing right now, that Wi-Fi was down, and it was not steady. It was actually very frustrating. So my apologies. Again, we've all been showing up here for almost 6 years, 6 years this week, every Monday, 6 p.m. Pacific, 9 p.m. Eastern, and we talk about healing. So I want to talk to you today about 10 different areas of my healing journey that I'm hoping will be helpful, and I'm hoping they will serve you. But first, I want to just say hello really quickly to everyone who's here. Let's just see if I can I know that it's moving. Sorry about that. Hello to Jeffrey Sherman, Ninja Taco, John Harvey, Diane, Joey, Carrie, LT, Kira. All right. So good to see you all. Andrew, hello. Oh, thanks so much to the Blue Wrench crew for being here. I can't do any of this without you all. If it wasn't for you guys showing up every week, I couldn't do any of this. I couldn't show up every week. And I just am so grateful to the Blue Wrench crew, all the people out there. Hey, Nance, great to see you. All the people with the blue wrenches next to their names. Miss Poppy, thank you for posting all of the guidelines and the crisis resources should anyone ever be in crisis. And for those who missed last week and didn't get the memo, we posted it in all of our groups, all of the free groups. And we posted it on our page. And we did the best we could to inform everyone. So for anyone who was here last week and was wondering what the heck, what's up with chat? Chat goes on every single week, and we've been here for 6 years. Why isn't anybody here? What's going on? Hey, Angela, welcome back. I just wanted you to know that it wasn't anything you did. Hey, Shelby, it wasn't anything you guys did. It was me. It was my Wi-Fi situation. Okay, it was totally me. Totally not you. Definitely me. Um, So now I'm gonna, like I said earlier, we're gonna talk about 10 areas of my healing journey. Oh, look, it's starting to rain outside. Can you see the rain? Is it coming through on the camera? There is a rainstorm going on. Can you see the rain falling? I guess you can't. It looks a little foggy all of a sudden. That's because there's like a huge rainstorm flying over us. Everything's raining right now outside. I don't know if you can see it. It's beautiful. But the sun isn't behind us. The sun is facing us, so we won't be able to see a rainbow. You can only see a rainbow if the sun's behind you. So, okay, so I'm going to talk about the 10 areas of my healing journey that I really want to share with you all that are, sometimes it's helpful for us to know that every person on planet Earth has similar situations and struggles and realities as we do, and that it's not just us. Sometimes that's helpful. And so if you find that helpful, then great. And if for some reason this isn't helpful for you, take the best, leave the rest, and just excuse yourself and come back another week. So the first thing I want to talk about is fear. Again, every person on planet Earth experiences fear. There were some times in my life when I did not feel like my life was worth living. I didn't feel like that there was anything good that was going to come out of my life. And I was feeling very hopeless as a result of all the things that I had been through. My complex trauma journey began very early on in life, in infancy, and it went all the way through until I was 40 years old. A little bit after that, actually. A little bit after that. Maybe, 41. Um, but I'm going to be 47 this year. The last several years have been very healing and very cathartic and very helpful and soothing. And I mean, I have ups and downs like everyone else, but I was, like we described in the beginning of this video, I was stuck in sort of a one down position by people who wanted me to stay stuck and do what they wanted me to do, say what they wanted me to say, act how they wanted me to act, and I didn't have the power of choice. And just when I would think that I was doing something good and that I was making good choices and I was doing things that I felt very strongly about and very hopeful about, then they would swoop in and they would remind me that they were the ones that were in control of me. And it might be curious for you. You're like, well, gosh, that's weird, Athena, because didn't you raise a a son? Isn't your son almost 30 years old now? What was going on? And so the answer is yes. My son is actually going to be 27 years old this year. Or no, I lied. He's going to be 28 years old this year. He already is 27. He's going to be 28 years old, and I'm going to be 47 years old. And so for 17 of those 40 years, the latter 17 of those 40 years, I was raising my son. And and you know, I believe that it is because I was in charge of another human. I believe that it was because I was raising him that I was able to not only um, sort of break free a little bit from the fear and the complex trauma and like the cement and the quicksand that I felt like I was in the beginning, of the first couple decades of my life with complex trauma with my family of origin, and other relationships that I had chosen. I believe that being in a situation where I was raising my son, it almost was like a superpower for me because I all of a sudden was in charge of another person. And so I wanted to make sure I was making healthy decisions. I didn't know how to make healthy decisions for myself. I was very afraid. I had a lot of fear. I was not motivated. I felt very hopeless. I was overwhelmed. I felt very lost. Um, I just was very uncomfortable and nervous and filled with anxiety and dread. Uh, for my whole life, I was feeling that way, and I didn't think that I was ever going to survive or grow or break free from the fear I was in. But since I was raising another human, I almost set aside those fears and I set aside my hopelessness and I set aside this like demotivating, overwhelming, like it's almost like I tried to set it aside, but it was still there within my reach. But I was making different choices because I knew that I was in charge of setting a good example for this little human. Okay, so fear is is the first thing that I'm sharing with you, the 10 things I learned about fear. And I think the main lesson that I learned about fear was that the definition of courage is when you feel the fear and you move forward anyway. I was a very courageous young mother. And it's not easy to say that about myself because I can be very self deprecating and I can be really down on myself and pick out all my flaws and I can be very fault finding when I'm looking at myself. But you guys know that I've been on this personal development journey for quite some time now, and I'm telling you right now that I was a very courageous young mother. I felt the fear every day, multiple times a day, hundreds, thousands of times a day sometimes. And I moved forward anyway, and I did the best I could because I was in charge of another human. So, what I couldn't do for myself, I figured out how to do for him. Okay, so the first thing that I'm sharing with you out of the 10 things is about fear and about how courage is literally feeling the fear and moving forward anyway. The second thing I'm going to share with you today is I'm going to share with you today about negativity and the desire to fit in and the desire to be loved and liked, the desire to be approved of, and people pleasing, choices. So the first 17 years of my life, I would even go so far as to say like the first like 20 something years of my life, maybe even the first 30, like I don't feel like I had a lot of choices. I felt like I was sort of dealt a certain hand of cards and I was like, "Ooh, this is not good. Like I do not think I'm going to survive this. What in the world am I going to do?" You gotta do something, Athena. But I literally felt stuck. Have you guys ever just felt stuck? Like you couldn't move forward and you were just blinded by the fact that you didn't even have a good decision in front of you. You had like choice A and choice B, and they were both bad. That's kind of how I felt because I didn't know at the time that I was going to have more choices when I got older. Because when you're little, and you're growing up in an environment that is abusive or toxic or filled with addiction or harm or abuse or neglect or even worse, when you're growing up in that environment, Your choices are stolen from you. They're taken from you. You're placed in a situation where you have limited amount of choices and your potential is being squashed by someone else. But I had this little thing inside me that wanted to believe, that somehow held on to the belief that when I got big, I was going to have choices. And I could choose to be kind. I could choose to be loving. I could choose to be positive. I could choose to be happy. And I could choose to help other people. And that I wasn't going to have to choose to be like the people that were in my life because my choices were literally stripped from me and taken away from me. I was forced to be in abusive, neglectful, dysfunctional, exploitative situations against my will. And whenever I tried to speak up about it, I was told that my life could be much, much worse and that I should just be grateful. And it was so confusing to me because I'm like, why am I supposed to be grateful? This is horrible. I'm not going to live. I'm going to absolutely die. But there was this little tiny voice inside me telling me that when I got big, I was going to have choices and that I could choose to be kind and loving and positive and happy, and that I was never going to be like them. I was never going to be angry and mean and loud, and I wasn't ever going to do drugs, and I wasn't ever going to be neglectful and abusive, and like I was just never, ever, 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 ever going to allow any of that to be in my life ever again because I was like, no, I had enough of this, right? So I don't know how I knew or how I even had the ability to hope for happiness for myself or that I would even ever somehow have the energy to survive all of it. Um, I don't know how I even believed that anybody could possibly, um, love me or help me or care for me or that I would reach goals or that I was going to somehow find a way to be kind and loving and to help people and all I knew is by the time I was a teenager and all of a sudden I was a baby with a baby, I knew that I was going to make everything great for him because I was going to undo all the bad that had been done to me. And I was going to somehow make it magical and easier and healthier. And he was going to learn how to be kind and loving and generous. And I was going to tell him every day that I was going to tell my son every day that he was smart and that he could be anything he wanted to be, anything in the whole world, right? So I just want you to know that even though my circumstances seemed unsurmountable and that there was no one in my life that was truly kind and loving without wanting to get something from me or use me for their own purposes or trade me for goods and services or send me out on dates with like owners of businesses and just horrible like child prostitution type stuff. There wasn't a word for it back then though. There was no such thing as that word. There was no such word as like trafficking or childhood exploitation. Like that wasn't really something that was ever talked about. So I didn't even know what I was in. I just knew that I didn't like it and I had to believe that it was going to be better. So by the time I had my son, I just reinvented the wheel every day so that I didn't have to. I wanted to make sure that he didn't do any of the same stuff that I did and was never forced into any of the same predicaments that I was forced into. I wanted him to have every opportunity to make choices. Okay? So find whatever you possibly can and just know that even though you were robbed of the power of choice when you were younger, just know that deep down there's some little voice inside you that believes that it's going to be different when you're older. It's going to be different when you're big, and that little voice is right. That little voice is wise beyond its years and is telling you the truth. Okay? So the third thing I'm going to tell you about today is I'm going to talk to you about holding grudges. I'm going to talk to you about negativity and how destructive it is to hold on to grudges and how this whole idea of sort of letting go and detaching has been super mind-blowing and life-changing for me. Now don't worry, I'm not going to go on some big long rant about how you need to forgive all of the people for all of the things and you need to forgive yourself for all of the things. I mean, those things might be true, but that's not what I'm going to talk about right now. You can choose. This is the only thing you need to know about forgiveness. You'll forgive when you're ready to forgive, if you want to forgive. And you'll release all the things you're holding on to when you're ready. No one gets to tell you when. No one gets to tell you that that's what you're supposed to do. You get to choose. Refer to number 2. You now have choices, okay? But what I do want to talk to you about is how destructive it was for me to hold on to these grudges that I was having and that I didn't even know I was doing it. I went from reminding myself every day where I came from and all the bad stuff I went through to praying that it would all be taken away from me and then forgetting all about it. And then just, I not only released all the bad things that had ever happened to me, but what I did, brace yourself, what I did is I reached out to all the people that did all the bad things to me, and I told them that I forgive them and that I just want to have a relationship with them, a healthy relationship. I just want to have a healthy adult relationship with you. Let's start over from scratch. Let's start over from square one. I forgive you. You forgive yourself. It's going to be amazing. Let's all kumbaya, hold hands, sing a song, and ride off into the sunset together. Okay, let's do that because I don't want to be burdened by all these heavy feelings of regret and disappointment and bitterness and resentment that I have towards you. It's making me sick to my stomach. I've had to go to the doctor and I've had bleeding ulcers because I've been holding on to these grudges. So I'm just going to release all those. I'm going to forget all about all of it. And I just want to have a new relationship with you, and I want to be connected to you, and I want us to just, let's just move forward in a healthy way. Let's do that. Well, you can probably tell by the tone of my voice that that was delusional of me to think that that was going to work. Why? Because I didn't realize that I was dealing with a systemic issue. Systemic means that the issue isn't with the person, the issue is with the system. And so I was dealing with the system, my family system. Everyone has these unspoken rules and these bonds and these promises and these secrets and these ideas. And not only that, but it's generational and intergenerational, meaning that it's been going on for centuries, or at the very least, my family and their parents and their parents and their parents and their parents, because that's as far back as I can find. Okay, so I was trying to take 5 generations of pain and trauma and abuse and a system that was cemented in place in my DNA, and I was trying to wave a wand and be like, I forgive you. Let's just move forward and be healthy and happy together. Won't that be awesome? Let's do it. And they were like, okay. And it was good for like a minute. And then at the first sign of, I don't know, Christmas or a winter holiday or some sort of something that is a tradition, all of a sudden, the very fragile house of cards that I had crafted for myself, where I forgive all the people for all the things, and we ride off into the sunset together holding hands and singing, all of that came crashing down on me, realizing that all the promises that they had made to me about how we would just forget all the things and forgive all the things and we would move forward and we would have healthy, awesome, helpful, positive relationships moving forward. Yeah, into like cocktail number 2 or beer number 4, depending on which family member we're talking about, that all flew out the window. All the bad shit that I was trying to like heal from was staring me in the face, and I thought that I was doing the right thing by forgiving. And just, I forgive you. We're going to have a healthy relationship based on the present, not based on the past. Like, let's just forget all about the past. Let's forget about all the things that were done to you by your family and their family and their family and their family. And let's just start fresh right now, like a new creation. Let's do it. But what I wasn't taking into consideration is that while I had moved away from the family system and I was getting healthy, the rest of the system was still in place. They were all in lockstep. They were all holding hands. They all had systems and unspoken rules and secrets and glances and, like passing notes, and no one would know. And, and like they would call so and so and talk about, oh, Athena's off the deep end. She found Jesus. Like, she wants to forgive us for all the things. Let's see how that works out for her. That type of a thing. And so I didn't realize that that might not have been the best decision, and that I didn't realize that it was delusional. Because guess what? You can't unbake the cake. I can't go back 5 generations or 10 generations or 100 generations or however many there are, and I can't change my DNA, the trauma that I hold in my body from my ancestors. I can't change that. I still have that in me, and I have to find ways to be healthy in my present day life, almost to like overcompensate for all the things that I'm carrying around with me. And so I do still believe that letting go and detaching has been life-changing for me, because it has. But I detach and let go in a way that is helpful for me, with my best interest in mind. I have to take care of myself first. Now that my son's an adult and he's married and he has a family of his own, I have to put my needs first. I have to take care of myself. I have to check in with myself and ask myself if it feels safe to contact someone from the system that is still very much in place, that I want nothing to do with. And right now, the answer is no. Now, do I hold a grudge and do I feel angry and bitter and all the things? No, not anymore. I'm simply glancing back at it and going, gosh, I'm super glad that I'm not a part of that anymore, because that was making me very sick. I was physically very, very ill, and mentally very, very ill, and relationally very, very ill, and financially and occupationally very, very ill, and spiritually very, very ill. All the ways that I could be finding ways to feel healthy and move forward, I was struggling in. I was on life support, in air quotes, not really. I was not in a hospital on life support. Although I had family members who were, by the way, like literally physically on life support. Like, they couldn't breathe on their own. They were on breathing machines. But I was mentally, emotionally, physically, relationally, financially, occupationally, and spiritually bankrupt and empty, and in a deep, 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 deep amount of pain. There was no health there, because I had sacrificed it all in an effort to mend relationships with a system that perhaps I wasn't supposed to be a part of. So what I've chosen to do over the past several years since I started showing up here on YouTube, I've slowly, for the last 6 years, been detaching and letting go from the system that I no longer want to be a part of. And I am glad to be able to say to you with great honesty that it's working for me. I am now mentally and emotionally way more healthy. I am now physically the healthiest I've ever been in my life. I am financially and occupationally getting to a place where I no longer feel bankrupt. I am spiritually in a place where I feel at peace and I have joy. And my relationships are the safest and the richest and the happiest they've ever been. And I believe it is a direct result of detaching from the system that was in place that destroyed every other member of my family. The only people who were not destroyed by the system were 2 cousins that are adopted, another cousin whose mom chose to become as healthy as possible within the system, and myself and my son. All the other people in the system that I know of are struggling right now, and they're in a deep amount of pain, and they're deeply frustrated and filled with anger or fear or sadness or rage or confusion, or they're struggling with, needing to control and feeling out of control. And those are not things that I want to participate in anymore. So I think learning to let go is probably one of the most liberating feelings I've ever participated in, and I'm grateful for it. So the fourth thing I'm going to talk to you about. So if you're taking notes, the first three things we talked about, the first thing we talked about is fear, and how feeling the fear and moving forward anyway is the definition of courage. The second thing we talked about were choices, and how choices were taken from you when you were little, but now you actually do have choices. And then the third thing was all about how grudges and all the negative emotions and the systems that are in place, how they will destroy you, and how it might be a great choice if you wanted to consider the possibility of letting go and detaching, because it's very liberating. So the fourth thing, did I say fourth? I meant that was the third. This is the fourth thing. The fourth thing is, I want to share with you the fourth thing that I've learned, which is comparing myself to other people has, at the very least, been unhelpful, and in its very essence has been very destructive in my life. Not only do I not have any role models in my life to compare myself to, because there isn't anyone that I can remember within my family system or like my lineage that I can look to and be like, wow, I want to be just like them when I grow up. And gosh, I love it when they teach me how to build, and when they taught me how to ride a bike, and when they taught me how to cook, and taught me how to do laundry, and how I can manage my finances, and how to do well in school, and how to chase after my dreams and reach my goals, and how to have optimum mental and emotional health, and how I can have healthy relationships, and how I can pursue um, religious traditions or spiritual practices, or honor my faith beliefs, and how I can deepen my faith, and gosh, how I can really be in the best physical fitness of my life and feel physically well, and how I can, really go after those goals and dreams occupationally, and achieve all these things. I didn't have anybody that could show me any of those things. Okay, so I would compare myself to all these other people who did have role models. They did have people that were helping them with all of those things. And so it really isn't fair to me to compare myself to other people, because they haven't walked a mile in my shoes. And the more and more and more I started to get to know people that I was comparing myself to, they turned out to not be very happy on the inside. And that was really not where I wanted to be, you know? So I think it's super important for you to remember that comparing yourself to other people is rarely helpful, and it's usually harmful. Okay? So that was the fourth thing. The fifth thing that I want to talk to you about is how easy it is to think that everybody else in the whole wide world has it better than you or easier than you, and why that's not helpful. Even if you were the one person on the planet that had it worse than everybody else in the whole wide world, and everybody else, 7 billion other people on the planet, have it easier than you, and that you were the one person that is like the one that's struggling the most out of 7 billion people on the planet, I need to ask you how that mindset is helping you move forward and live out the life that you want to live. because I truly believe that if you're here on this channel, you have every reason to complain. You have been abused, exploited, blamed, denied, invalidated, harmed, and reharmed. And you've been mocked and laughed at and exploited and tortured and scared and terrorized. You've had everything taken from you. You've been stripped of your dignity. You've gone through a lot, more than most. And yet here you are showing up for yourself. So, in case no one's told you lately, you're pretty freaking amazing. You're a total badass. Okay? So, please do yourself a favor and stop thinking in your mind that if you only would have had a good mom, and if you only would have had a good dad, and if you just had come from a better family, then you would finally be able to be happy and you would finally be able to do the things. Please stop that. I think you all know me well enough to know that if I wanted to say those words, I totally could. Legit. I could be like, you know what? If I would have had a loving mom and I would have had a responsible, respectable father, I could have really accomplished some good things in my life. Those are true statements, but that mindset isn't helping me, because even if I do have it harder than everyone else, now what? What's the end game? Am I just going to wallow in it? I mean, yeah, I have to sit with it and I have to be like, gosh, this totally freaking sucks. This really sucks. I was dealt a really shitty hand. Now what? Now what am I going to do with it? And am I just going to settle? Am I going to be like, well, I might as well just be an abusive mother. Well, I might as well just be a shitty wife. Maybe I could cheat on my husband and have like 4 or 5 boyfriends and get married like 6 more times. And maybe I could blow all the money I have gambling, and like maybe I could buy drugs and alcohol and just go out and like vandalize and take advantage of people and like, harm children and do horrible things. Like honestly, like then what? Like what's the end game? What's the end game? Yes, I was dealt a shitty hand, but then what? Now what? Am I going to wallow in it? Am I going to dwell on it? Am I going to be like, well, I was dealt a super shitty hand, so that means that I just get to be super shitty like the rest of my family of origin. Not all of them, but some of them. And I think I'll just turn out just like them. And I'll be abusive, and I'll be an alcoholic, and I'll be a drug addict, and I'll be filled with rage and unkind words and excuses. And on top of all of it, I'll be entitled, and I will act as though the world owes me something. And then I'll blame everybody else for my problems. And then I'll wonder why no one wants to be around me. That's what I'll do. No. No, 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 no. No, 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 no. I'm telling you right now that that's not an option that you want. Okay? Even if all of those things are true, you still have a choice. So stop comparing yourself to other people, as per number 4, and truly, truly search your soul and find a way to pull yourself out of the reality that you've been dealt. Okay? There's this quote talking about how, it's easy to think that the grass is always greener on the other side, but the truth is what matters is how you take care of your own grass. So there's a quote: a rich person sees a broke man playing outside in a small yard with his kids, and he feels jealous because he's on his way to another 16-hour workday and can't spend time with his children. A broke person sees the rich person driving a new exotic car and feels jealous. It's a lose-lose situation, and the only thing that we can do is take care of our own grass. Okay? So how are you taking care of your own grass? It's very easy to look at the negative side of anything. Again, there's this poor guy who has nothing but a garden hose and he's just stuck at home playing with his kids, and he sees some guy driving a Lamborghini. But the Lamborghini guy is like, oh, how lucky that guy is. He gets to play with his kids. Like, which is it? Well, it's both and. Yes, you're gonna some days you're gonna be the guy with the garden hose and the kids, and some days you might feel like the guy that has the Lamborghini. It's always easy for us to choose to be pissed off and frustrated and resentful towards other people that have more than us. But we need to be in charge of our own choices, and we need to take care of our own grass, okay? So that's number 5. Take care of your own grass. Number 6, let's talk about relationships, okay? Let's talk about how we treat people. This is the 6th thing that I'm sharing with you that I've learned on my complex trauma healing journey. Relationships, safe enough relationships, are the most valuable thing you will ever, 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 ever find in your entire life. Money will disappear and burn to the ground. You can't take it with you. Relationships that are safe and that leave your dignity intact, that honor your choices, that bring you joy and peace, those are the most valuable, beautiful, important things in the whole world. I get to show up here and hang out with you guys every single week for the last 6 years. And to me, like, that is like a dream. I have one place I can come every single week for an hour. No one's going to tell me I'm fat, ugly, weird, stupid, or that I should be doing everything in my life differently, or that I'm a loser, or that I come from a horrible family, or that why don't I just die already? Like, I don't get abused or neglected or stripped of my dignity when I show up here once a week. How blessed am I? You all allow me to be in your life, and I get to be in your life. You are in my life. You show up and you are a part of my life. Like, what a gift. What an absolute gift that you have given me. Okay? So please, just whatever you do, every moment you get an opportunity to, whatever interactions you have with other people, please be kind. Just be kind. The only reason you all have been coming here every Monday for 6 years is because you enjoy the kindness that you experience here. And you know if people show up and they're not kind, that they get deleted and blocked and they're not welcome back here with us ever again. Why? Because who has time for unkind people? I don't. Do you? No. You will never, ever, ever know how meaningful it is for you to be in someone's life, and you will never know which connection you're making that is going to be a connection that you have 5, 10, 15, 20, 30 years in the future. You could literally show up for someone and be kind to them, and they will never forget it, ever, and that could somehow be something that is brought to your memory 10, 20, 30 years from now. Please treat other people, every single person you meet, with the kindness that you wished you would have been treated with when you were younger, with the kindness that you want to be treated with now. I mean, I could stop the video right now, and that's like the most valuable part of the whole video right there. Please just be kind. Just be kind. Kindness matters. The 7th thing I've learned on my healing journey is that confidence is not something you're born with. I thought that in order for me to feel better and to feel confident and to actually not want to die every day, that I needed to be born from another family. Like, legit, my most recent trauma therapist that I still have, that I've had for 3 years. Seriously, legitimately, I sat in her office on one of the first times I ever met with her, and she said, "What is it going to take for you to not feel so hopeless?" And I just wept and said, "I think I needed to be born from a different family." That's the only answer I had. I truly was of the opinion and the belief that all the bad was on the inside of me, that the essence of me is just wrong and bad and horrible. And my existence on the planet is just tainting and ruining everything that I am near. I just wanted to die. I had no confidence. I mean, yeah, I was like showing up and I had bouts of confidence here and there. But when I was trying to start this foundation, when I was trying to start CPTSD Foundation, I was like, I don't even know why I'm bothering. I was literally told by my colleagues in the mental health field that everything I touched would burn to the ground. Let me repeat that. I was told by my colleagues in the mental health community that everything I touched would burn to the ground because I was so mentally unstable. And I believed them. And you know what I'm learning? I'm learning that they didn't know everything. They underestimated me. They didn't realize that I could learn and grow and heal. And if I can learn and grow and heal, I'm telling you that you can learn and grow and heal. Okay? Confidence is not something you're born with. You have to believe that you deserve to heal. You have to believe that you deserve to reach your goals. You have to, if no one else on the whole planet has ever told you that, let me tell it to you right now. Right now. You deserve to heal. You deserve safety. You deserve kindness. You deserve healthy relationships. You deserve mental and emotional health that is beyond anything you could ever fathom. You deserve physical health. You deserve financial and occupational health, spiritual health that you never thought was possible. And you deserve healthy, safe relationships, relational health. And you deserve to feel confident about it, to be able to look in the mirror and like what you see. And you know where that starts? It starts with kindness. Okay? No one else is going to be kind for you. You have to choose to be kind. And you have to know and believe that if you place yourself as a priority and you take care of yourself and you learn to find a way to detach and separate yourself and have very healthy boundaries with 100% of the toxic people in your life, that you are going to get healthy. I'm not saying be kind to everyone. I'm saying be kind to the safe enough people. Cultivate safe enough relationships for yourself because you're worth it. And have healthy boundaries, rigid boundaries even, with 100% of the toxic people in your life because you're worth it. Okay? And that is being kind to yourself, and that's part of it. As you do that, you'll become more assertive and you'll become more confident. Okay? It's the truth. If it doesn't happen that way for you, let me know. But I'm telling you it's the truth. That was number 7. Confidence is not something you're born with. You can definitely learn it over time. But in order for you to have confidence and to become assertive, you have to have healthy boundaries with 100% of the toxic people in your life, and you have to cultivate safe relationships. And the only way to do that is through discernment and learning to trust yourself. And the only way you're going to learn to trust yourself and trust other people is through healthy boundaries and safe people. And so it's all this like connected thing. It all is all about healthy boundaries and safe relationships. And then once you're in that place where you know you're not going to be like sideswiped by a toxic person, that you are safe, then you can start feeling things and you can start grieving what you wished you would have had. And you can start showing up for yourself. There's like a self-parenting process that has to happen. You have to be your own parent that you perhaps didn't have. And you want to know who does that? Confident people. People who want confidence. Do you think children who grow up without a good enough mother are confident? They're not. So we have to become our own good enough mother through self-care and self-compassion. We have to become our own good enough father through self-protection. We have to be able to feel all of the painful feelings, but the only way to do that is through healthy boundaries and cultivating safe relationships. Okay? All of that equals confidence. The 8th thing I am going to share with you is about finding your purpose. Okay? You might not feel like your life has a purpose, but I'm telling you that you do. Your life has a purpose. You have a purpose. And there is like a total hack and secret to the whole finding your purpose thing. It's just very, very simple. Your purpose has nothing to do with you. Your purpose on planet Earth isn't about you. It's not self-serving. Your purpose on planet Earth is likely and probably and almost certainly about someone else or something else bigger than you. So I don't know what your purpose is, but mine is to help people heal. And I'm living out my purpose now. I'm working towards that on a regular basis. It's the one thing that I give, and it's energizing. It doesn't drain me. It just fills me up. Okay? And it helps me. It helps me when I'm helping other people. I feel like I'm living out my highest purpose on planet Earth. I'm helping other people get through what I've been through. And if you don't have a purpose, you can borrow mine. Like, it's a noble purpose. Do it. Go for it. It's yours. Take it and run with it. Go help someone, but not at the expense of your own well-being. Your own well-being has to come first. Okay? Number 9, let's talk a little bit about multitasking and focus. Okay? If you are truly wanting to live out your purpose in life, you're going to have to commit to finding out what that purpose is and making sure that you place your well-being as a priority and focus on your well-being as a priority. Don't ever sacrifice your own well-being in order to please a whole bunch of people and help a whole bunch of people. Okay? Because that's doing too many things at once. You need to get really, really, really good at taking care of yourself so that that sort of is like an automatic thing, like a habitual thing that you do. Because then you can focus on helping other people if that's what you decide your purpose is. But let's say your purpose is to work on computers. Well, make sure you're taking care of yourself. Make sure you're hydrating. Make sure you're nourishing yourself. Have you eaten vegetables? Are you eating nutrients and vitamins? Are you hydrating? Are you getting enough rest at nighttime? How are the quality of your relationships? Have you cultivated safe enough relationships? How many times a day are unhealthy or toxic people crossing your boundaries and trying to derail you? Remember, you got to always take care of yourself first and make sure that you have safe or even rigid boundaries at first with 100% of the toxic people in your life. Even if that's your hard family, even if it's your family of origin, that's a hard thing. If you come from a family of origin that is not necessarily functional and healthy and supportive and kind and that feeds your soul and they believe in you and they're concerned about your mental and emotional well-being and they believe in your ability to reach your financial and occupational goals and they're committed to you having a good, healthy spiritual life and you know they're committed to being showing up in a healthy way so that they can be a part of your life because you're committed to only having healthy relationships. You know, do they understand that your physical health is a priority? Do they understand that that's something that you're like, it's like a non-negotiable with you? You got to have healthy, rigid boundaries at first, and then ultimately healthy boundaries with 100% of the people in your life that don't have your best interest in mind. You need to limit your time with those people. All of your downer friends that are like negative all the time, you need to move on. You need to not allow them to reach out and text you and message you and call you and pop by and show up at your house. That's not allowed. Not if you want to succeed and reach your goals. Okay? I want this so badly for you. You can't focus on living out your purpose and taking care of what needs to be taken care of in your life if you're constantly managing other people and trying to make sure that they're not, you know, being toxic and harming you. And like, you just got to make sure, okay? You got to focus. You got to focus. And it's super, just know this, okay? I know how easy it is to get dragged into multiple different arguments and drama and even multiple like projects and like jobs and all the things, right? You need to figure out what's the most important to you, and you need to figure out if that's what you really want to do, and you need to focus on it. Okay? And make sure that anything you're participating in is in alignment with who you want to be as a person and the vision that you have for your life. If your vision for your life is helping other people, you need to align yourself with people who want to help other people. And you need to allow them to know that that's your vision so that they can help you reach your goals. Okay? It's possible. Did you know that through the foundation, through CPTSD Foundation, did you know that the ultimate goal for me is to provide jobs for the people in our community that are basically unemployable because they're mentally and physically disabled as a result of their complex trauma? Did you know that that's a big goal of mine? Did you know that I will absolutely only hire other people if they're committed to their healing journey and showing up for themselves and making healthy choices for themselves? I want what's best for every single person who's been through complex trauma. I want them to know what it's like to feel physically healthy, mentally and emotionally healthy, to have healthy, safe enough relationships, to have healthy boundaries, to be able to reach financial and occupational goals, to have a healthy spiritual relationship with whatever higher power they believe in. I want them to be able to choose their own faith beliefs and their spiritual practices and their religious traditions, and I want them to be able to live lives that they absolutely love and enjoy. Did you know that that's one of my goals? But that can't happen if each and every one of us doesn't commit to showing up for ourselves. Commit that we're not going to respond to those crazy Jerry Springer text messages. We're not going to answer the door when they decide to show up. We're not going to answer the phone. We're not going to respond to the message. We're going to block them on social media. We're not going to allow toxic, crazy, ridiculous, dysfunctional people that want to harm us to be part of our lives because they're quote unquote family. Like, I'm sorry, but relationships are a privilege. Adult relationships are a privilege. Your human rights dictate that you get to choose the relationships that you're a part of. So let's focus on that. Let's not get distracted. Okay? And that was number 9. I know I'm getting pretty hardcore. Some of you are already gone. You're like, oh, she's out there. The 10th thing, the last thing I'm going to share with you right now that I've learned on my complex trauma healing journey is that if I am going to stay alive long enough to meet my future grandbabies, if I am ever going to stay alive long enough to be able to look back and be like, whew, that was crazy. And like actually like sit on a chair someday and look back and be like, wow, I'm so glad I made it to this moment where I can actually take a breath and just look out at my grandbabies playing and sip some lemonade or some iced tea next to my son and his wife while my husband, barbecues hamburgers. Like, I don't know. It's just a dream, okay? If I'm ever, 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 ever gonna make it and live my best life, which, hello, that's what we all want to do. We want to be living our best life. We want to be winning at life. And I want to be consistently happy and fulfilled, knowing that I lived out my purpose. You want to know what has to happen? I have to relentlessly remove the things and the activities in my life that are toxic and draining. And I have to be able to look at those things on a regular basis, minimum of once a week. And I have to be honest with myself about it. And I have to have accountability. I have to have somebody else to be like, well, Athena, like you shared with me that this was your goal. Are you saying that this is your goal now? You got to have accountability. You got to be brutally honest with yourself. You have to relentlessly remove the things and the activities that do not serve you, that are toxic and crazy making. You got to have accountability. You have to have brutal honesty with yourself. And you just have to be able to trust the process. If you have, I'm making you a promise right now. Are you ready for the promise? If you establish and maintain healthy boundaries with 100% of the toxic people in your life, you will cultivate a safe enough relationship, even just one, between now and the end of time. And you want to know what's going to happen? You're going to experience peace. You're going to have lasting happiness. Your mental and emotional health is going to improve. Your financial and occupational health is going to improve. Your physical health is going to improve. Your relational health will, the byproduct of what we just described means that your relational health will improve. And guess what? Your spiritual health will probably improve also, because you will feel safe enough to actually believe in something bigger than you. And everything is going to improve. Your whole life would be different. If you chose to establish and maintain healthy boundaries with 100% of the toxic people in your life to the best of your ability, if you can't, you can't, figure out a workaround, your whole life will change. That's a promise. It's impossible for it not to happen. But you got to trust the process, okay? It's super hard, you guys. Gratitude is a big part of my life. I'm not saying that I like fake gratitude. Like, I'm so happy right now. I'm so grateful that all the bad shit happened to me. No, I don't do that. But I am really intentional about gratitude. If I am feeling low and depressed and like I just can't get out of bed, I find 3 things that I could possibly maybe be grateful for if I were to get out of bed. I gotta try to find something if I'm struggling mentally and emotionally. Okay? So that's it. Those are the 10 things, you guys. Those are the 10 things. I don't know if anybody took notes, but if you did, you could put them in the comment section if you wanted to, even though I think it would be best if, if everybody was able to just sort of like, hang out with us for an hour and listen to everything. So that was a lot, you guys. It's over an hour of us talking about all this stuff. It's a little bit darker outside than it was earlier. I hope you guys can still see and that it's still pretty. Hey, Kate. Hey, Aurora. Hey, Lance. Hey, Angela. Hey, Carrie. Hey, Shannon. Hey, Alice. Jeffrey Sherman, you're so funny. We are all a part of the Breakfast Club. Are you kidding me? LT, hi. LT says, where are you, Athena? I am standing in my dining room. And I have the air conditioner off because I didn't want it to be really loud. But it's so hot because I'm standing by the window. So I need to go turn my air conditioner on and let you all go. Do you mean like literally where am I? I'm in the state of Hawaii. I'm on an island in the middle of nowhere. Why? Because I'm a self-care badass. I got away from my my toxic system and I got away. Hi, Alice. Oh, Poppy, you're so awesome. Thank you. You're amazing. I'm so grateful that you're here. Okay, well, apparently I was fired up today. Namaste, Miss Poppy. Oh, I love you all so much. Thank you for allowing me to be in your lives. Thank you for being in my life. What a gift. Oh, thank you all so much for being here. I'm sending you all so much love. I'll see you next week, next Monday, and every Monday, 6 p.m. Pacific, 9 p.m. Eastern, right here. Um, be gentle with yourselves because you're worth it. I love you all so much. Good night, everyone.